Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's 11:44 a.m. Mountain Time, Thursday, October 10th, 2019. Snowy and cold outside here in northern Colorado. Don't know about you and where you're at in the part of the world, but man, bundle up. It's coming. Da-da-dum. Just going to use this time, man, to vent a little bit, do a little bit of venting. I don't know, for whatever reason, I snapped right out of meditation, man. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to people that I've been communicating with in the back channels, some of the feedback. Thank you. I mean that. Feedback is hard to get, guys. And I don't think it should be like that, but thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the support, the motivation. Please don't allow this to come off as if I'm bragging. You know, I'm questioning it, so maybe it does, but and maybe this has a little bit to do with my bipolar too. So shouts out to my people with bipolar. But man, I feel so passionate about changing the narrative. And what I mean by changing the narrative is the same old interaction with other people in society. Man, with the way education system's set up and how our own individual lives affect how we perceive the world to be, we take that into how we handle individuals. It's really hard to get on the same page. I'm experiencing that. And it's really hard to, I know for me personally, man, it's hard for me to communicate without being passionate, you know. So I kind of fight with interrupting people. And that's an awareness I have and thing that I'm working on. I've noticed I'm getting a little bit better, but nonetheless, it's there. But there are those formalities that we have when trying to communicate, that error that we have when trying to communicate. Communication's so key to anything that you're doing. That's for another topic. I quickly got off topic. I guess I really don't have a topic if I'm venting, but the narrative, man, it really needs to be on something a little bit more deeper than what we've had it on. Doing it for the drip. Doing it for the fame, the limelight, the girl. Really, you can take it even deeper. I mean, yes, you're doing it for your kids, but then essentially it makes you feel better, so you're doing it for you, really. What's going to have to happen and what's going to be required to change the narrative on how we entered the information age, the technology age, the really true effort of sustaining humanity, we really need to look within ourselves and change the narrative in the way that we think. Point blank, period. There's a lot of scientists and people, famously like Joe Rogan. I believe there's a lot of people that are taking this fatalistic outlook on things. There's a lot of scientists and smart ass people that are like, humanity's doomed because we're so behind on the way that we think. because we doing it for the drip. Oh man, I didn't came this far. Fuck it. I didn't whatever. So screw it. Part my French. Nah, you meant to keep pushing. You know what I mean? And it's really no one's business what it is that anybody's struggling with. You know what I'm saying? You make it it's only made someone's business whenever someone reaches out to you for help. And at that point, it's not meant for us to ask questions to know more business. There's not enough conscious effort to be able to really look at this shit and be like, man, we really all in this together. What Timothy do gonna affect Dwayne and his family? What Johnny do gonna affect Kathy and her family? Why haven't we caught on to that? This is not a surface level issue. This is a roots deep in the ground issue, and it requires everybody to look deep, or else we're doomed. A lot of people take pride in their work ethic and what they've built and who they've become. They take pride in that. You take pride in that. Everyone does. There's a reason for that. So what you do and what your hands manifest and create, what your mind manifests and creates, it comes from everything inside of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's you, right? What is there left? Please think about that. What is there left? From the industrial day and way of thinking, what else is there to incorporate? What else is there for you individually to create and continue a legacy? And even really kind of be a boss about creating a legacy. How do you implement your legacy and create it for it to sustain as part of humanity for forever? If you're real boss about what you're doing, right? Yeah, it's going to take some time. It's really hard work, man. And finding the like-minded people is the hardest. There's a lot of people that feel that they're able to create an assumption based off of communication, and some of that stuff, like to build a business partnership or a relationship, that shit takes time, and nothing like that happens overnight. Like, to really get into a big ass business agenda, you're not really going to just jump into a relationship with a lot of people and really get that to jumping overnight, you know. And it's going to take some relationship building, and it's going to take some planning on behalf of the relationships, and some of us don't get that shit. And maybe we do, and maybe there are avenues and situations to where relationships, you know, are measured to not work in certain people's perspective. But nonetheless, we've got to figure out ways to where it can be beneficial in terms of an overall industry. What the overall purpose is going to, you know, what is the overall purpose of the industry that you're in and wanting to expand, right? And for it to expand and sustain, you know, that's the whole overall purpose of getting into business, right? And so how do you develop those relationships to expand on something that's going to be sustainable? Because you can look at certain economies and certain communities, and you look at the future projected numbers and the trend and the service and industry that you in, you'll see that those people won't make enough money to be able to afford my services sooner or later, because there's not programs being implemented for that that gap. For example, if there's a service or an industry that you're in that provides a service that's $350 a month, and we're projecting for poverty to increase 65% more, that's taking away from people that can afford the service, and so it's a fine line to really kind of building a relationship and moving forward. Now that I'm seeing, and it really is, it's the threshold of the mindset right now, and that's going to hold us back, in my opinion. Not being able to communicate as a whole community on what to expect during crises is a problem for how advanced our society is here in America. There would be nothing but straight up panic in a lot of communities because there is no way of effectively communicating what is expected when shit hits the fan. And it starts, and you can see it at how you can develop and build relationships. I think a lot of it has to do with how the measurements are, what someone bringing to the table. It's tangible now, but an information age is not tangible, guys. And tangibles are if you don't have the money, take a little bit of time to kind of manifest. But I'm getting off topic again. But the narrative, man, it's important that we kind of look at how shallow or how deep we are as human beings, man. And I kind of reference this back to bossmanship, and it's a makeup. Bossmanship is a makeup of drastic, supreme moves to realign your life to a light, a source of positivity or whatever. If you want to tap into the negative side, it ain't none of my business. It's no one's business what side you truly tap into when we talk in terms of source. But the bossmanship is a makeup of that change you want, that change that people truly desire. Sometimes we get in a rut and we just kind of say screw it, but whenever you make those changes of, in my opinion, what I've gone through fighting in battle against addiction, I'm a boss like a mofo from turning away from that. You know what I mean? And so everyone's a boss in our own right, but that bossmanship in terms of making that shift and that changing the narrative is what we need. Kind of forgot what I was going to say or what I said already, but I just really can't speak on how important this is. This is not for me to be able to take advantage of any market. I'm not making this to be a billionaire. I'm not trying to turn this and convert this into a business. I think that ultimately, if we kind of shift our brains into the inevitability, which is a trend that I'm only anticipating, and I feel like there's a little bit more to that, and it's a different topic, but just anticipating that trend and really talking about it kind of shift the mind to be there. We're able to take and incorporate necessary steps on sustaining America's power and really sustaining humanity, really. And essentially that's my blueprint, I guess. It doesn't require everyone, and this shit's really not for everybody. But to really ultimately achieve on a supreme level humanity's expansion on a multi-planet effort, and to take sports with it. I think that in the athlete, that's where the change is at. That's where the ability to change is at, the athlete's mindset. And through the blessings of a higher power, those efforts are on their way and they won't be stopped. I think that there's so much you can incorporate with the athlete, from it being a professional athlete to a professional in the corporate world to a professional citizen to a business owner. Everyone's played a sport. And we've kind of missed the mark in areas because you can see it in the data to where we can look at people's lives being lost, play the sport. People that are incarcerated, play the sport. How do we allow those individuals, and moving forward, how do we can maintain that direct, what I believe is a direct exercise for not only the top self, which is your flesh, but your inner self, your soul, your spirit, your emotion, and all that. There's ways you can tap in and manifest just by training both sides of you whenever you're working out. And I mean, when I mean both sides, I mean inward and outward. And that's all. That's a little bit off topic. A little bit off topic. Nonetheless, changing the narrative is important. It's a hard way of life, because to really kind of change from any point to where you're feeling comfortable about who you are as a person, to change from feeling more comfortable about who you are as a person is a process, and then it becomes not who you are, but who you are, who you want to be. So you then become not only human, you become a human being. So, and that's for a different topic, the importance of being a being and not a person, boy, or whatever. But we'll talk about that later. Again, changing the narrative in terms of the way that we think. How do we allow ourselves to step outside of who we are and how we communicate, and look at how people take how we communicate. So if I'm communicating with my wife, I need to do a better job at stepping outside of my shoes and stepping inside of her shoes and listening to me talk, if that makes any sense. Because if we can't communicate big plans, how do we maintain and continue to create industry and businesses like the baby boomers have done up to this point? But all this takes a boss to look, man. That's all you got to do is look. I'm out.